rolling through the paramis now, a review of the paramis one at a time, 1 week at a time, yeah, as we move through to the end of the year. And next up is sila, morality, virtue. Yeah, we'll be spending a fair amount of time on this next year as well, on this whole topic. There's so much there, and so much of it was, again, it's one of those bits that was, it's kind of surprising now to think of it, but it was really overlooked a lot when in the 70s and 80s and even in the 90s. It was all about just be mindful and everything else will take care of itself, you know? It's funny how long it took for me to see that mindfulness itself doesn't take care of right speech or right action. Mindfulness is part of it, but it's a different kind of intention. It's a different kind of commitment to harmony and to non-harm and to restraint in certain areas. Restraint in the good sense, restraining from doing something that isn't so wholesome in favor of something that is a bit more wholesome. Yeah, when Joseph talks about sila as just all-around goodness, which I kind of like, just all-around goodness in speech and action, and in our intention, beginning to bring that more to our intention, right? Yeah. Internally and externally, yeah, internally and externally. And even if we don't do a lot of damage externally, although there are moments for all of us, aren't there, where we're just a little careless in speech or action? For me, one of the helpful things continues to be helpful. Really make the something that wasn't so skillful and the effect that it would have on my meditation. They're really clear about that in the text that, pay closer attention to that, and you'll see that the two are not so separate. They're not so disconnected, and through some unskillfulness here or there, that's part of what can show up in our meditation. It does for me, and more so, actually. It's as if the more sensitive we become, the less we get away with without seeing the implication internally. If I say something unskillful, and I go, that wasn't so skillful, I might be aware of it in the moment. When I'm sitting, it's like, it comes up again. Why did I say that? Why did I say it in that way? Why didn't I just, and now I'm stewing in that a little bit, a little bit of regret, a little bit of remorse, a little bit of self-blame, a little bit of self-blame in there, in the internal space that I've invited because of the previous speech or action, Now, it's obviously not the only reason that we want to engage in sila practice, and so that we'll have better meditation. But it will help with meditation, in my experience, And there's this orientation, there's this general orientation toward what they call, it's a wonderful word, right? Toward blamelessness, in the direction, forget about blamelessness, but in the direction of having less feelings to feel self-blame about. It's like clearing up the interior a little bit, the interior landscape a little bit, by simply behaving in a slightly more harmonious, slightly more gentle, slightly more kind way, and holding that more in mind, as we move through our lives. There's nothing really esoteric about it. And it's really about always in Buddhism, which I appreciate, the deepening appreciation of all the precepts, etc., the verified faith in that comes from direct experience, our own direct experience with it, as opposed to this is I know I should do it. That's not it. That's not quite it. That's not where it really takes on a deeper sense of relevance. It's because I see it in myself. Oh, yeah, well, I just said that careless thing. Yeah, but it had an impact. It had an impact out there and it has an impact in here. That's why. Oh, right. That's why. Yeah. Yeah. Because it doesn't feel right inside. It doesn't land well inside. Even if I can make a case for it. Well, that person said something mean to me, so that's why I said, that's okay, but that doesn't work. That doesn't work either. That doesn't work, And when we can restrain a little bit more, we don't like that word restraint. But again, I think we mentioned it last week, and it was a question about renunciation. Renunciation is about not doing something that doesn't feel good and replacing it with, sometimes it's just silence, but sometimes replacing something with something a little bit more wholesome. It's just moving in that direction. And I love that Susan said last week too about how all of the paramis are interconnected. There's so many bits, there's these they seem like isolated bits on their own, but they're all connected. And I hadn't thought about the paramis all being interconnected, but of course they are. And if you think of Sila and you go through some of the other paramis, you go, oh yeah, you might do this with all the paramis. Just notice how they all kind of connect. Obviously, Sila is connected with generosity, moving towards you. Obviously, it's connected with patience. We sometimes need to have patience, even before acting, even before speaking. Just that pause, right? Obviously, it's connected with intention. It's connected with renunciation, as we've mentioned. It's connected with metta, with loving kindness. It's connected with equanimity, which is the last parami. Sometimes we don't have to embrace everything. We just have, okay, let's just bring equanimity to the situation. In Sila, it's very much connected with Sila. All of these paramis have their place. They're all interconnected. And all of them are inviting us to move more in the direction of the affiliative part of our nature, right? The part of us that knows that we're all interconnected, the part of us that knows something about doing unto others to others as to myself as to others, as Susan keeps reminding us, it's obvious. It's obvious that we want to move more in that direction. The affiliative part of our nature, which is not the only part of our nature. It's not, right? We are clear about that, aren't we? There is greed in there. There is anger in there. There is defensiveness in there. There is what about me in there. All of that is in there. All of that is in there. We have all of the some of the more primal, rougher energies in us as well. We know that. We acknowledge that. We have to make room. We have to make room for all of that in our practice. But we're making less room for acting more of it out as we move into the practice, and as we really take seriously, a bit more seriously, Sila. And we would rather move in a wholesome direction. We would rather not identify so much as we used to when some of those rougher energies are moving through us, and where we want to find someone to blame. I'm unhappy, but whose fault is it? Yeah. It's part of our nature. It's like, what do I do with this rough energy? And it's challenging. sometimes for all of us, right? But Sila is an invitation to, we don't talk about goals, that. Susan and I don't talk about goals because that gets us, it's a setup for us. It's a setup for we should be more pure, we should be more perfect, we should be more something. But it is moving in that direction when we can. Yeah, Sila, it's moving in that direction as best we can. Yeah, and in the direction of the affiliative part of our nature, really. Yeah. So I think of it that way. I think of it in terms of non-harm in general, toward other, but a lot toward ourselves. It's that ragged energy toward ourselves. Sila shows up there. It's important there, very important there. Yeah. Non-harm and affiliative part of our nature. I'm always looking for the simple, what is it really? Non-harm. Okay, I got it. I can get that. I can get that. In more and more situations, what? It seems like there's so much to it. Non-harm. What does non-harm look like in this moment, in this situation? That's my simple mnemonic around Sila. What does non-harm mean in this moment? Yeah. So let's keep incorporating that and to our degree in ways that we can. Yeah, in all the ways that we can do that. Keep moving in that direction together. Yeah. So thank you for your kind attention.